Good morning. This is Mike and David with today's morning show. We've got some exciting topics to talk about. NVIDIA stock hitting all-time highs this morning, and Chick-Fil-A coming out with apps. Maybe they're going to get into the competing with the AI companies. Who knows where they might go? And then David's going to talk about what do people like to talk about? Politics, finances. It's the time of the season where a lot of people talk politics. So we're going to get an article that he's heard about and share that today. But before we get started today, I must say this is a financial education presentation. You must do your own due diligence on anything that you hear in this presentation. More disclaimer information can be found on ankerstarwealth.com, and the opinions expressed are mine and David's alone. So I wanted to start with just a real quick Monday morning market update. And you can see on my screen, the Dow's just down a little bit. The S&P is really flat, and the Nasdaq is up a little bit. So that's pretty flat. And considering we've had a 6-week winning streak, hey, I'm glad to see this, that it's not down. But one of the stocks that is in our models that we absolutely love is NVIDIA, and it is cracking 52-week highs, continuing to break forward, up 2.5% today. It's probably the reason why the Nasdaq is up at all, because this one is leading forward. If you look at the year to date, it did have a dip back in early September, and that's actually when we really started adding it to our models in full force, and it's run right up into all-time highs again. So love NVIDIA. Looking forward to, Jensen Huang eventually accepting my LinkedIn friend request, but we will continue to follow this company. I saw this article today on Chick-Fil-A, and I found this fascinating. Chick-Fil-A is releasing its own entertainment app with family-friendly shows and podcasts. And when I saw that, I thought, hey, I like Chick-fil-A sandwiches. My kids do too. There's none, they're real close to us, but every time we go by, we'll grab one. But I thought, entertainment app, and I've been at restaurants where there's apps. Usually they charge you a little bit for them. But, this is such a convoluted space because, people with phones have access to apps, and there are, millions of them, I'm sure. And to compete with this, I'm kind of surprised a little bit that Chick-fil-A is venturing into this. It just seems like it's kind of diving into a very competitive landscape. And they also talked about podcasts, which I listen to a lot of podcasts, and there's more podcasts out there than I want to listen to than I possibly could. So, as I read down here, and of course, Chick-fil-A is coming in that these are family friendly, because a lot of podcasts, a lot of apps, not necessarily family friendly. Chick-fil-A, third biggest restaurant chain by sales, trailing only Starbucks and McDonald's, and continuing to grow rapidly. And then as far as Chick-fil-A, you may wonder why don't we invest in Chick-fil-A? And it's a question that, it'd be a great question. Like, hey, if this company's growing rapidly, doing all this stuff, why can't we invest? So I thought I'd pull this up and show you real quick. Chick-fil-A is not a public company. You cannot invest in them. It is a privately held company by the Cathy family. And if I scroll down to kind of read this a little bit, and why isn't it public? If it went IPO, I can't even imagine how much money it would be worth. I mean, it's not like a NVIDIA size, and it's not quite McDonald's size, but it's substantially large. The main reason they say they will not go public or haven't gone public is it would change the company's culture. And that is probably true, because when you go public, then you have shareholders, you have to speak to investors. You could even have, outside fringe groups pushing on you. But when you own your own company, as long as you operate within the law, you can kind of do what you want. And that's what Chick-fil-A's done, and obviously has been very successful at it. So, would they go into the entertainment industry? I don't know. I thought, could it eventually become Chick-fil-A? Maybe, I don't know. But with that, I will turn it over to David, and he'll talk something that everybody likes to talk about, finance, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe politics. So with that, David, take it away.
All right, thanks. Uh, get my screen shared. All right, good morning, everyone. So I saw this article and I thought, well, that does not surprise me at all. Many Americans would rather talk about politics than money. Not having these conversations can cost you. And I thought to myself, well, it's not. People talk politics all the time. Like, so that's why the article didn't surprise me. Like, I go on Facebook, and maybe it's because of my musician background, but most of my music friends, they're posting politics all the time. So, and I think it's just because we live in that 24-hour news cycle where it's always the new thing, what's happened with our government and all that fun stuff. And so it doesn't surprise me. It does dominate a lot of the conversation, but the not talking about those conversations can cost you. That's what kind of perked me up. It's like, okay, what are we costing ourselves financially? And it kind of breaks down, you know, what is having, it kind of breaks down the percentages of people who would rather talk politics and stuff in this opening paragraph, and goes on, people don't like, and why people don't like to talk about money because it's deeply personal. And that's true. I mean, when you talk about your spending habits, you are opening up yourself because you are giving a window into what it is that is important to you. I heard a great expression one time of, if I can see your bank statement, I can find out what's important to you. You know, if saving is important to you, if spending is important to you and what you're spending those dollars on, you start getting into those questions about what is personal to you. And so you really open yourself up. And then this article is talking, it kind of goes into, you know, your retirement age parents, you should be talking to them, about what their financial situation is, uh, so that you can help guide them through retirement, and really kind of have, you know, what are you going to do before an emergency situation arises? And so that's where you want to talk about that. And I thought this was interesting that more conversations are happening more regularly with time. And I think that probably also comes down to a social media thing. I see people who are posting about their personal situations a little bit more now, or they'll share a financial influencer's TikTok or reel or whatever. I think this is great advice. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's like, I would never recommend that. This is the worst advice ever. And I did have somebody post one time something like that, and I sent them a message and I said, I would really reconsider what you just shared, because, and here's why. If you want to talk about it, please feel free to reach out. So I think with social media stuff, people are becoming more open about it, but it needs to happen in the home, not just sharing out knowledge. And so this is kind of where that gets into that. So have your emergency fund fully funded, and then when the emergency arises, what do you want to do, especially end of life care and stuff like that for, aging parents, uh, and fun stuff like that. I did find one little thing at the bottom, so I thought that was interesting, and it was this right here. More than half, 53% of investors surveyed who have at least 250,000 in assets under management with a financial advisor, uh, it has helped them work through uncomfortable family money situations. And that comes back to what we're supposed to do for you. And what I usually tell people is, like, money is very, for whatever reason, um, is very personal and very emotional. And our job is to take the emotion out of the situation, give you, allow you to sleep at night so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. Is your money working for you in the most efficient manner that it can? And that's our job. So if you have questions, as always, please feel free to reach out. If you know somebody who's asking questions, please feel free to refer them to us. We want to help as many people as we can. And for me, the educator in me is like, when I explain to my students why we do something, the buy-in was a lot better than telling them just to jump. So we like to explain the why, uh, to help you get through those situations. So I thought it was an interesting article.
Yeah.
as I scrolled through it, and not surprising. The headline was not surprising, but it was interesting to actually see somebody actually put it as a headline. What do you think, Mike?
Well, I was gonna say, social media, you bring up social media and personal and emotional. And I remember when social media first came out and people were like, oh, this is what I had for breakfast. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, like I can't believe I'm even reading this, or why would anyone post that? And then it eventually got to that political side. And certainly now is the cycle. Although I will say that this year it seems a lot less, at least on my social media, than it has in previous 4 years and 8 years ago. And it's kind of like when I think personal and emotional, I don't think social media is the best place to have those discussions. It should
nope.
be, you know, one on one, with your family. If it's a family issue, if it's finance, talk with your financial advisor, or even a friend. But putting things out on social media, it has a purpose. Social media has a purpose. I get that, but I would not put anything personal, or certainly anything that I'm emotionally. I mean, I could go Bengals. Yeah, there I'm emotional about that. But I'm not going to put, that kind of deep stuff out there. I just don't. I personally would not do that. So, and the whole political side, I have said before, if Facebook wanted to make some money, if they just charge $2.99 a month to suppress all political posts, I probably, a lot of people, including myself, would pay the $2.99, and they could have some revenue stream coming in. Because I like Facebook, but I don't want to see all those political posts,
I
whether I
have
agree or
definitely done
disagree.
yeah, I have definitely done the snooze this person for 30 days button, especially this time of year, because it just is like, I appreciate you sharing your opinion, but I've had enough of it.
Yeah. So it's almost over. I mean, where the election's coming up, and we'll move on, hopefully past all the political banter, and move forward. So I like talking finance more. That's why I'm in this job, and I'm not running for office. So
Very
with
true.
that, we'll continue to talk finance. You want to talk finances, call one of us. We'll be glad to talk about that with you. So with that, we'll have a great week, and we'll talk to you later this week. Bye.